Hello, everyone. It is the Prophet Michael David, aka Aries, and I am cold, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well. I wasn't going to post today because I have been working on some of my Tribe of Joseph versus Tribe of Judah 2 video, but it's not ready yet. But there isn't much else to do. So we're going to take it easy today. And I also wanted to log on and see if anybody commented on my Collett's conjecture solution. But I haven't done that yet because I always do these videos before I upload them, and then I check the analytics when I upload them, a new video. So today, as you might suspect from the title of this video, we're going to go over prophecy, the different levels, some of the different players, but including how, as a prophet, things can happen to you much before, and you don't know what they mean, and then days, months, even years later, you'll have an epiphany, and it'll all make sense. This is one of those things that you'll have to take on faith for me, but like I don't have to because I lived through it. But I'll try to explain it as completely as possible, and then I'm going to show this in conjunction with other people who claim to be prophets. And you might think that, proclaiming myself Mashiach, I'm going to be, everybody else is a false prophet and I'm the only one on the planet. But no, I doubt it. I mean, I know I'm a prophet, but I can't prove or disprove, probably without meeting them, that these people are actual prophets or just crazy people that talk to themselves. The same thing they're going to say about me, I guess. So we'll go over that as well. There is levels to prophecy, and the tippy top ones are Moshiachs. All right, we've talked about this before. I think one other time I've screenshotted this passage from the Bible, the Torah. This is from Numbers. I think it's chapter 11 or 12. Oh, there it is, 12. And this is the chapter where Aaron, the brother of Moses, and their sister Miriam, Aaron and Miriam got angry, and they're like, hey, aren't we prophets too? Why is Moshe so much more favored by the Lord than we are? And that's when the Lord called them to the tent of the meeting, came down in the pillar of smoke, and explained that there are levels to this stuff, and I'll elaborate on it for the Lord. But she's like, sometimes I send people dreams. Sometimes I send people waking visions. Sometimes they see visions when they look into fire. Sometimes I see visions when they look into water. There's many ways that she communicates in a riddly way with many times of prophets throughout history. She's saying that Moshe isn't my first prophet ever, but he's different in that I show him more of the truth. And that's why she says the true form, not the face of God, but the form of God, and that she speaks to him. With him, I speak to face, clearly, and not in riddles. Well, that's not quite totally true for Moshe either, but it is. I've learned how to communicate with her, it's much easier. But yeah, I can't imagine an instant without her right there. So in that light, I'm going to post a screenshot of another YouTuber that also claims to be a prophet. He gets his prophecy through dreams, and his page is going to look muddled, but that's kind of like, if you would see all the, like my math stuff, if you would see all the stickies on my table, it would look like chaos, like nonsense, but it's just part of a process as the way that he writes down. But I'm going to point out one little thing that I looked at it, and I had an epiphany about a couple of years ago. Actually, that night, Easter Sunday, 2021, day 35. And epiphanies like this used to like amaze me, and they still do. I'm just not as amazed by it, but I'll explain it to you guys. All right, I'll give you a little background on this guy, at least the stuff I know. His YouTube channel, his name is Torah Light, and I found him end of last year, right after I became Mashiach around, or realized I was Mashiach around Michaelmas 2022. He has a lot of prophetic dreams. You can go back and look at his old videos, but speaks a lot about that he does see like Mashiach sometimes, and he always has dreams about twins, and there's always this duality. and he has spoken about Aries stuff as far as the zodiac goes. He doesn't call himself Jewish, he calls himself Israelite. So, again, but I've never met this guy, and I'm only bringing him up because you might think that he's influenced me on some of my stuff. But no, I'm going to explain the story, like how I became Aries before, and how something on that page is the stuff that made me have the epiphany. But again, don't worry about the messy stuff. That's kind of how a lot of work in life is and everything. He's just scrolling down the stuff as it comes to his brain. That's why it's not really organized. Again, if you could see all the math stickies on my table, it would look like KS2 as well. All right, quick recap for you that haven't heard my story about day 35, April 4th, Easter Sunday, 2021. So long story short, I sent my email off at exactly 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got a big hug by God. And then a few minutes later at 3:03 Eastern Standard Time, I got down on my knees in what I now know as the Monday, Access Monday. I wrote the name of my father, David, in the dirt, and thus the age of Aquarius ended. That was the night of Armageddon, and the age of Azrael began. And for the next couple hours, I kind of just sat in front of my computer in a prophetic haze, and God kind of did explain to me, kind of, what went on. And that's when I described I was sat there exhausted, because up until that point, I had lightning flashing through my brain like 20 hours a day for 35 straight days. I was exhausted at that point. And so I remember God saying, Michael, I'm so proud of you. And she was peeling off my horseshoes. And she said, I'm so proud of you. Just promise me you'll never do that pull from the Akashic Library that hard ever again. And so I promised her, and I never have since. But then she also said, I'm rewarding you with a new name, and that name is Aries. And I instantly said, Aries, you named me after the god of war? And she said, oh no, hun. Sometimes, oh no, baby. But she said, oh no, hun. That's Ares. Aries is a ram. The next morning, he was just a newborn baby black sheep. But she did say ram. She didn't say black sheep. So what does this have to do with the Torah Lights page of prophecy, and what was the epiphany it gave me? Well, if you look on the right-hand side of the paper where he has the drawing of the Aries, the ram, and he draws rams a lot too, or sheep. But right below that, the four celestial objects are the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And this is why that instantly came to me, other than the Aries thing. That night, as God was explaining stuff to me for first time in 35 days, like I said, I was much more relaxed, and I was looking at video feeds from Mars and astronomy stuff, like no math stuff and no religion stuff or mythology stuff, just a bunch of astronomy stuff. And I tried to find the page, but anyway, that night there was only one planet that was truly visible up in the heavens, and that was Mars. Ironically, all the other ones were almost gone, and Jupiter and Saturn were low on the horizon. So Neptune and Uranus were behind the sun and couldn't be seen. Venus and Mercury were too close to the sun to be seen. And like I said, Jupiter and Saturn were right on the horizon. The only planet up in the night sky was Mars. It was a real weird conjunction of events. And again, I never understood why until that moment where he's basically drawing a time in history of when whatever, an event that only you guys know about actually happened. So I know it sounds like reaching, but like when they come to me, they just come to me, and there's no reason for them to pick those four celestial objects. And why the sun? Well, it's because, as I described before, right after my, horseshoes were peeled off, and I made my promises to God and everything, and I got my new name and my new zodiac. I remember just sitting there smoking a bowl, chilling out, and watching the sun rise from the east with the green tiara on the head. It's called the green flash. It's actually a solar event, but I didn't know that until like 2 hours later. Again, when just looking around for astronomy stuff, I found it. All right, and lastly, and this really doesn't have to do with Torah Light or any other prophet, but since we were talking about celestial events that night in 2021 and shortly thereafter, I did find a screenshot of how when Mars was really very high in the sky, over the next couple weeks, it dropped down to the horizon and it went right through the constellation of Taurus, right by Aldebaran, which is the solar representation of the Archangel Michael, and right between Aldebaran and the Pleiades, which is the Maidens. Again, almost like he was backing up Michael. And then I remember I couldn't find a screenshot of it either, but that green comet that came through about a year ago, that also fell right almost exactly through the same place, right through the constellation of Taurus as it was going out of the solar system. All right, that was a pretty easy one. Pretty good buffer video. It wasn't even 12 minutes long. On the one hand, I'm still going to work on my video for the Tribe of Joseph versus the Tribe of Judah 2. And then on the mathematical end, I said I guess I might field some questions if anyone had about the Collins conjecture when I actually post this video. But on the mathematical side, right now, I'm trying to isolate a variable in one of my best prime predicting lines, like the ones with where the prime zigzag over them. And I'll try to make another video, one of those, that shows the thing will be as close as anything. And then I might show you the statistics as well, how it's so much better than any other prime predicting line there is. So plenty to do. And I do feel warmer though. So, all right, signing off. Rule number 1, as always, do not touch other people without their consent, aka do not hurt each other. And rule number 2, it's all about honesty. Lies are a tick down, aka try not to lie. All right, I'll talk to you all later.